Every financial institution are facing key challenges in their efforts to manage money laundering, terrorism, financial risk across the organization. Our worries is about exactly. Our worries are about risk, completed integrated view of CFT risk across the enterprise, transparency and trustworthiness of KYC data, monitoring motor claims for the insurance sector, because they have this webinar covered financial institutions, insurance and exchange companies, everyone. Updating clients' profile due to change of information, risk-adjusted performance, regulatory supervision testing, regulatory AML compliance. This is the headache of every single MLRO, whether in exchange company, financial service banks, domestic banks, and else. What are the obligations or what is the obligation of MLRO? You should be responsible ensuring that appropriate information other matter leading to knowledge or suspicion or reasonable ground for knowledge or suspicion properly disclosed to the relevant authority, which means every one of you who is MLRO, while monitoring your firm activity of customer, you notice certain red flags. Those red flags, when noticed, monitored, studied with an eyebrow, your duty is to report to your senior management and the relevant authority, which is in Qatar FIU. It involves serious legal consequences that result in civil and criminal action for the suspicious client and provide oversight for their firm's AML system, and the MRO acts as a focal point for the related inquiries involve significant amount of responsibility. Welcome to the club. The problem of every single firm is how to know the KYC, know your customer, the correspondence, the employees, and for everyone. Knowing your customer is all about how far your data is up to date. It's all about data, the KYC digital and clear KYC. If you have poor data, then you have poor profiling of your customer, less information about him, less weak monitoring, and weak reporting. The KYC or know your customer is the basis of our role as MLRO. We start. Are you hearing me?
Yes, Mr. Bashir, you can go ahead. We can hear you.
Yes,
Yes, sir, we are hearing you, sir.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Bashir.
Okay. The KYC is basically the due diligence. And you do under due diligence, we have for every single customer unique identifier. This unique identifier, we start from this to do enhanced due diligence, KYC data convergence in case we want to change our operating system into new system. Good data, good KYC, good convergence. Link identification, customer identity profile check, and KYC data enhancement. Personal verification, how far your data is good. You have personal surveillance, ongoing surveillance monitoring, how far your existing customer, you know him. The new customer, how far do you know him? You collected data, how you perform your enhanced due diligence, how you do periodic customer review and administrative tool. Another area under know your customer, we have know your employee. The know your employee due diligence is crucial for everyone. I'll give you a hint. When I was hired by QFC Regulatory Authority as their consultant for AML and supervision team, I have submitted references about my background. Every single reference by email or by phone to inquire about my previous profile. Later on, when I joined Royal Bank Scotland in Doha, Royal Bank Scotland hired a special, and this special company requested for me to give every single details about me from day one I started in the banking system and starting in the compliance field. During the process of providing information, there was a gap between Doha, between the PFC and joining the Chinese bank ICBC, about 2 month gap. So the guy in London asked me whether can I provide as kind of evidence. So London looked and the response was, if you will not provide it, then RBS cannot hire you. And all of a sudden later on,
sorry, Mr. Bashir, the audio just dropped. If you don't mind, can you repeat the last sentence, please? Mr. Bashir? Guys, give us a few minutes. Let Mr. Bashir log in again. Bear with us.
hello?
Mr. Bashir, you're back.
I'm back?
Okay. Yes, okay. You're in now. If you could repeat what you last said, I think the signal dropped.
Yes, I was saying here that RBS doing background checking about me. Yeah, where did I find this app? What's happening, Malavan?
I think the audio is dropping.
My screen sharing is paused. Why? I don't know. This is what.
Oh, do you want to close your screen and share again? Can you try that?
Do. Resume share.
Mr. Bashir, do you want to stop sharing and then share again?
Yeah,
can you? Okay, okay.
It's okay now? Now.
Yes, you can. If you can put it on full screen view.
Yeah, we can. This is okay.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Now this company in UK I remember that during this gap, 2 months, that I went out with my wife on vacation. So the guy in London asked me about to provide evidence that I went in vacation with my wife. I said, what? He said, yes. We want a copy of your passport, what what day and time you left Doha, which country you went, visa to get this country, and when you left this country back to Doha, date and time of going back. What I'm telling you, everyone, that the KYE is very important. The due diligence about the employee is very important and crucial. This CV screening is of great importance. Your personal and work experience of lot of important to learn, to the regulator, to everyone. Now, I have a case, I'd like to share it with you. There was a case under QFCRA, University Women Supervising Al-Mal Bank, are authorized by QFCRA. We noted that under Al-Mal Bank, the financial officer and the MLRO, when filing it for the regulator, the report didn't provide enough information about abnormal activity, which means they didn't raise flags about something could be wrong. It showed that everything, when we visited and monitored their report, we found out that the MLRO was biased to the Al-Mal Bank and not reporting to us as a letter the correct image. Also, we found that this MLRO is not certified as ACAMS or else anymore, because under ACAMS website, the Association of Certified ML Specialists, anyone is certified only for 3 years. After this, if he doesn't renew his certification, he will not be entitled to hold the CAMS certification, which means he cannot be approved as MLRO anymore unless he renew his certification. This gentleman used to be my colleague, and one day we were having lunch at Al Bazaar in Qatar. When we finished lunch, the regulator spoke with me, a high-ranking officer, and told me, we'd like to see you. So I went to the executive committee at the regulator. He told me, we know that today you are having lunch with this gentleman. This guy was asked by the court to be a witness against Al-Mal, and he submitted a medical report that he is sick. So he lied to us and he went to have lunch with you. Now, we as a regulator, we instructed airport authority to help prohibit this guy from leaving the country. Our advice to you, not to be seen in public areas or Doha anymore. If we see that you are meeting him in public, you will be subject to sanction yourself. The behavior of the MLRO, of the employee, of great importance, could give the image about the institution. Another case, under Royal Bank of Scotland, I had a deputy. We found out from later when this deputy was summoned by Qatari police to provide certain clarification. This employee should have reported to us that the police authority requested him to see him. Failing to do this, we wrote a harsh due diligence on him and reported the incident to head office, and we penalized this officer because for not being transparent with us. Is the recording still on?
The recording is on. Please go ahead.
Okay, fine. Now, Of great importance for any MLRO to have proper customer onboarding, proper customer enhanced due diligence for new and existing customer certification. Why existing? Because during the course of business, this customer, he didn't used to be sanctioned by any multinational. It could be later on be sanctioned. That's why the screening of all existing customers of great importance. Why it is important? Because if you are doing cross-border banking transaction with Europe or with USA or any country worldwide, and one beautiful customer, and you fail to know that this customer has been sanctioned recently, then you will be subject to what? To harsh penalty by the correspondent bank. And a lot of examples happen for Lebanese Canadian Bank, for exchange company, Bank in Lebanon, the chairman of a couple of banks, HSBC. The penalty was $1.9 billion years ago, and so on. So screening of great importance to everyone. That's why should have name filtering system and screening. The pain is to have advanced screening, efficient name matching, algorithm to monitor, detect, alert, optimize false positive and false negative. What is management, the quality and power of search, and what is filtering, peer-to-peer comparison, and so on. Any questions so far?
If anybody has questions, please unmute your mic and ask your question. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Bashir?
Yes, go ahead.
No, I just want to get, does anyone have any questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Yeah, please go ahead.
How to recognize the job of the visitor? What document is required? Suppose a visitor came to purchase currency, suppose, or send money.
Look, we'll come to this later on. Your question is, can you repeat your question?
Okay. How to recognize the job of a person who is visitor?
The voice is not clear. Can you, Malavan, can you tell me what?
Yeah, Muzammil, if you don't mind, can you type your question, please? Okay, just type and send it to me. Okay, so because the audio is dropping every now and then and he's unable to hear. My apologies. Does anyone else have a question? Feel free to type your question as well.
I have a question. My name is Raghu.
Yes, Raghu, please go ahead.
Yeah. This in the first slide, there is customer enhanced due diligence. It's mentioning new and existing customer certification, individual customer, corporate customers, and joint accounts. So, what are the best measures and additional measures we can take for especially this KYC EDD, enhanced due diligence, for both individual and corporate? Because I'm in the same job role as now. I would like to know more about it.
Okay. The enhanced due diligence is really about what exactly?
About individual customer and corporate customers, like especially for existing customers. But during the time of onboarding, we are taking all documents from the customer, and we are doing. But after maybe the customer is already an existing customer, and he's already there for 3 years with us or 5 years, is an old customer. So what are the best measures, additional measures we should take for both individual and corporate? Yeah.
Right. When you onboard a customer, you start with the basic KYC.
Yes.
The basic due diligence or simplified due diligence.
Yeah.
Now, after a while monitoring the customer transaction, you notice certain behavior that doesn't match the customer profile or declared.
Okay.
Is for you certain red flag, like that this customer in his kind of business there's no cash deposit, for instance.
Yeah.
Are you with me?
Yeah. Yeah.
No. Yeah. Well, look at me. Don't look here like this. You are misleading me.
No. No. I'm hearing you, sir. Yeah.
Okay. Now, this customer, his profile is to do what? Has a business, a corporate, or is an employee who has an account with the bank. And
Yeah.
if he's an employee, his salary remitted to the bank on monthly basis.
Yeah.
So you know the profile of the customer. But as
Yeah.
employee, all of a
Yes.
sudden this customer will come to the branch and starting depositing cash amount exceeding his profile.
Okay.
I'll give you an example. One day, a client came to a branch and she requested to open an account. She declared that her profile is an accountant at used car business, and her monthly salary is about $2,000. A month later, we noticed that this lady has deposited in her account a couple of checks amounting to $15,000. Once the checks collected through clearing room at Central Bank, the following day she came to the branch and requested to get the money in cash. So her monthly income, $2,000, she was performing transaction all of a sudden for $15,000 and request to make withdrawal of money in cash. We looked at the checks deposited into her account. Checks were issued by the used car company. The owner made the check out with order and endorsed in the blank, and the lady deposited check in her account to be collected. A month later, we noted this transaction kind of repeated more than once. Every 10 days, we'll make deposit of $10,000, 15, 16, $16,000 in personal checks. Once collected, she will come to the branch and make withdrawal. We asked ourselves what this lady is doing. Why in hell her boss is writing out the checks to his order, drawn in his account in his own? She is collecting the checks for via clear. When checks collected, she is taking the money in cash. What she is really doing, once we didn't find an answer, we put this account under monitoring. So I instructed the branch manager, when this lady comes to the branch to collect the money in cash, the collected checks, you tell her we don't have cash in US dollars. And you will tell her that we will provide you with a bank check. She came, requested to make with cash withdrawal. The answer was we don't have cash. She was furious, but finally she said, okay, I will take a banker draft. So the bank draft was crossed and co. When a bank draft is crossed and co, it means the beneficial owner of this bank draft should be deposited in his bank account. Doing monitoring, we noticed that the beneficial owner of first check went to one of our branches, opened an account, the branch took away from him, and we found that next day, this customer, new customer, came to the branch and made cash withdrawal about 95% of value of the check. And this kind of transaction has been repeated more than once, and every single beginner went to another remote branch in another area, opened an account, and next day took withdrawal of the, the money. We tried to connect the dots between the beneficiaries of those transactions and this lady and the owner of the used car business. What happened raised red flags for us. Those red flags needed to make enhanced due diligence about existing customer. During the life of the account at your end, there's a couple of red flags to be noticed. Now, following those red flags, unusual behavior of the customer, you need to monitor the account, every single transaction, ask yourself what the customer is doing. And now under the new law number 20 of 2019 about AML in Doha, there is a lot of focus about non-designated financial business professionals and how to identify the ultimate beneficial owner. At all times in Lebanon, we had the ultimate beneficial owner part of our laws, which were more advanced than Qatar laws all times. Anyway, one day the lady came to the branch to withdrawal. The branch manager told her, look, please, you have to sign this declaration about who is the real beneficiary of this action. And she refused to sign this declaration to state who is the real beneficial owner, his address, full name, identification, and so on, and requested to close the account. Now, because of this unusual behavior and the rejection from the customer, our red flag suspicions have been confirmed, and we filed an STR to the Lebanese EU. Couple of months later, we found out that the owner of used car business has been sentenced to jail, and his associates also subject to harsh penalty and sentenced to jail. Does answer your question?
Yeah. But I wanted to also ask about documentation. So suppose you are told about this transaction monitoring and red flags, and to raise STR, it's okay. What I'm asking is, already existing clients are there with individual as well as corporate. We have taken some documentation during the time of onboarding. After 3 years, for a low or a medium risk customer, we are reviewing the profile. So what are the things, disparities we should see, especially in documentation?
After 3 years, you have to do your KYC again.
Yeah.
In Qatar, let me ask you this question. In Qatar, does the customer have to sign the KYC? Is it required, in Doha that the client should sign the KYC?
I'm not aware about it because I'm in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, let's say in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, we are conducting enhanced due diligence on the customer. We are updating his documentation. That's it.
Look, my friend. My question is simple.
Yeah.
Under the Emirati law.
Yeah.
Under the Emirati law and your policy and procedure in Abu Dhabi, is it mandatory that the customer sign the KYC?
Yeah.
Yes. Now, once you are reviewing the customer profile after 3 years, okay, you have a new KYC, you have an updated profile. Then the customer should sign the new KYC again and provide you with more information about, because he started could be doing kind of business. During these 3 years, same business was going on, nothing new, but the KYC should be signed. And because The customer could be change his phone number, his PO box, or his address. How you can make sure this is same address?
Yes.
So if the customer has changed the address, because most of the time, my friend, the customer will give you certain address, will give you certain mobile number or landline. In certain areas, we used to contact the customer by phone the next day or 42 days later on. And most of them found this landline number, mobile number doesn't pertain to customer. So from day one, he provided us with false information
Yeah.
intentionally.
Yeah.
While you are doing his profile, KYC, collect the data again, monitor all the information, the new information. Is the same? Have you contacted the customer by phone? Did he answer the phone or
Yes.
didn't happen at all?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, your customer have is doing business with certain people, so you should know your customer. If
Yeah.
those customer is profile, is there match between both profile or mismatch? Write down in this is your enhanced due diligence. Is this customer used before not to be sanctioned by any entity? Is he now sanctioned by any entity in UAE or in GCC or in USA? As you know, 2017, all GCC countries adopted OFAC listing of sanctioned entity. Correct? Still with me?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm hearing you.
So this, when you made the screening about the customer, he didn't show to be sanctioned. Is he sanctioned now? How far do you do screening about existing customers with sanctioned list? Is it on every 6 times, every 6 months, every year? You don't do it at all because you could, if he was sanctioned and you didn't know that he's sanctioned because you are not performing screening of all your customers, you could be in weak point as a bank. This customer could be doing international transaction and your correspondent bank will tell you. I will give you an example. A Saudi company called Mobile is partnered in Syriatel in Syria telecommunication company. Mobile or Syriatel paid Mobile for year 2008 $1 million as dividend. Because Syria under US sanction, so no bank in Syria can do US dollar transactions with any bank in USA. So the customer agent, the Saudi guy agent in Damascus, spoke with a exchange company in Lebanon to execute the transaction. And the exchange company in Lebanon went to their bank, instructed them to send the money, transfer the $1 million to the credit of Mobile in Saudi Arabia through the Mobile correspondent bank in USA. The Lebanese bank failed to do his proper due diligence on all the components of the SWIFT message. Why? Because once the SWIFT message went to USA, at that time Wachovia Bank contacted the Lebanese bank and told them, sorry to tell you that the money has been confiscated and remitted to OFAC. Right? Because under the reason of transfer, it shows dividend paid by Syriatel, and Syriatel is sanctioned OFAC. Now the money is still lodged at OFAC and confiscated. The Lebanese bank lost $1 million. The exchange company lost $1 million. The guys in Syria lost $1 million. And the guy in Saudi Arabia is still looking for his money. Nothing happening because it falls under sanction. That's why if one of your existing customers is doing international transaction, and you doing this kind of screening on him, maybe because sometimes at bank they do screening on boarding customers, but they fail to do screening for Swift messages for many reasons. Failing to do screening for Swift messages will create headache for responding bank vis-a-vis the correspondent bank. Okay. Any question?
Thank you. No, thank you, sir.
Okay, sir. Okay. I will move forward. We were talking about name filtering screening system. We'll move to risk-based approach. The pain in risk-based approach is about how to identify potential perpetrators across all customer life cycle stages, advanced risk deviation, and risk scoring model. They enhance their communication with strong messages from leadership and a consistent tone at the top to help cascade risk culture across the organization and creating visibility to better understand the risk and opportunities, which means we have customer onboarding for existing customer through transaction activity to product and services rendered to the customers through delivery channels in banking sector, the business sector and the employee, the proxy on account, all the component account subject to risk-based approach and verification about the product, the geographical location, and so on. One area to pay attention about knowing your customer is the ultimate beneficial owner. For body corporate or body of persons, natural person who owns or control, whether directly more than 25% of shares or voting right, including thoroughly shares, or natural persons who otherwise exercise control over the management. Under legal entity or legal arrangement, a natural person who is the beneficiary of at least 25%. In the case of non-determined beneficiary, the class of persons, a natural person who controls at least 25%, and who is a beneficiary on the long term of customer business under this policy, which means we'll move to this. In principle, the identification and verification procedure depends whether the applicant is acting on behalf of natural person or acting on behalf of a foundation or association or acting on behalf of company or partnership, or applicant is a trustee or trust. Obliged entities must ensure that the applicant is authorized in writing to act on behalf of beneficial owner. The beneficial ownership in this slide will show you Corporation A. Corporation B has 80% shares in Corporation A, and Corporation C has also 20% in Corporation A. But under Corporation B, we have other shareholders, 80% owned by B1. Under B1, we have 75%, and another guy with 25%, and the remaining 20% of Corporation B is owned fully by one entity with 100%. Moving to Corporation C, we have two companies, owns 40% to 60%. The 40% under C1 is one person who owns 100%, and the 60% under Corporation C are two entities who owns 49% and 51%. This exercise is good for everyone to identify really the beneficial owner under Corporation A. We spoke about suspicious activity, red flags. flags are the indicator of potential suspicious activity can be summarized into major categories including cash behavior, cash transaction, non-cash deposit, wire transfers, safe deposit box activity, credit transaction, commercial activity, trade finance transaction, investment activity, employee activity, activity indicative of human trafficking, smuggling, terrorism financing. Those are common red flags. You have it in your policy and procedure. One of great importance is how to file the STR, suspicious transaction report, to have identify potential actual illegal activity. Is it money laundering? Is it terror financing? Other financial fraud and abuse? Have we detected and prevent of illicit fund? Did we establish emerging threat analysis pattern trend? It is required. This slide I'm showing to you pertains to what? To financial crime enforcement network, which is FinCEN under U.S. Treasury. I attended a session under the Federal Reserve Bank in New York, and when my colleague from FinCEN did this presentation, I thought would be helpful for you to look at the way the American think, how you as correspondent think while filing an STR, because we'll give you how to write your STR and how to answer the correspondent bank in the case raising question about certain transactions. Rule number one, do not assume the reader is familiar with your institution internal terminology, acronyms, operational process, has other knowledge reported violation. When you are writing an STR, it should be concise and clear. Provide detailed description of the known or suspected criminal violation of suspicious activity. Identify the essential elements of information, the 5 W's: who, what, where, when, and why, and chronology and content. You are still hearing me? My voice is clear?
Yes, Mr. Bashir, you can go ahead.
When did the criminal suspicious activity occur? If a one-time occurrence, identify the date. If a pattern of activity occurred over the span of time, state when the activity first initiated, and then describe the activity during the duration. Identify when the activity was completed, because you are having customer profile, starting off account, starting doing activity, like the example I gave for the lady hired by a used car company. You monitor the account, every single area. When the activity started to be detected, raising red flags, this is part of your STR. Where did suspicious activity take place? Identify the branch, department, location, or location within the institution, or where the identify hearing me? Yeah.
Mr. Bashir, can you,
Identify all
sorry.
account numbers and type of account.
No, voice is not coming clear, sir.
Mr. Bashir, we lost your audio for a minute. Could you repeat? If you can go back to the beginning of the slide, the same slide.
This one?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
When did the criminal activity occur? If a one-time occurrence, identify the date. If a pattern of activity occurred over a span of time, state when the activity first initiated, and then describe the activity during the duration. And identify when the activity was detected. The example I gave you, this lady employed by used car business, it came to our attention there's something suspicious happening. So while we are writing our STR, we should have all those information here, how to identify it happened, the pattern of activity. She was depositing cash, depositing checks, collected through clearing. Once collected, we make withdrawal in cash. And we should put every single details on in the STR. And when the activity was detected, state, time, date, and so on. Where the suspicious activity happened or took place, identify branch the activity occurred, name of branch, office or department, the street address for each. Because it's great importance this. Why? Because when you file an STR with Qatar FAU, Qatar FAU under the Qatari law they have report this to enforcement agencies and to Qatar Central Bank. Law enforcement agencies, if they have lack of information, not reported in your STR, they cannot perform their duties to know exactly how to follow up. You need the address, every single information you have in your file should be stated in the STR to help law enforcement agencies. And because lack of information, you didn't perform your due diligence as it should, it means your KYC, you have a weak KYC, which means alternatively, the bank or the company will be subject to penalty by Qatar Central Bank or the authority in regulating the firm. Identify all account numbers and types of accounts affected by the transaction activity and indicate if suspect transaction involve other domestic national banks and identify the bank, their location, account number, and so on. Why? Because this is under national transaction crucial. There's suspicious activity going on between two countries or more through different channel of banks. All the information collected correspondent bank fall part under your STR. You have ample details. The Qatar FAU will take your STR and will contact the FAU of the other country to help them screening and follow up about counterparty information to know what really happened. I'll give you an example. Lebanese Canadian Bank, it was the bank I used to be head of AML and compliance at one time. I resigned from the bank October 2008 because my management didn't listen to me. And when I came to Qatar as consultant to regulator. 2011, January 2011, 19 customers of this Lebanese Canadian Bank was listed by offer. Following months in February 2011, they were listed by as primary money laundering concern. Why? Because the bank failed to honor their signature under USA correspondent bank agreement with Bank, which means the bank was doing transaction to American bank that raised red flag about certain customers connected to Hezbollah. That's why the bank was indicated as financing terrorism. Every single detail of transaction is important, but it's more important that you have your own system to screen everything, create reports, make monitoring, make enhance due diligence, make classify the risk of your customer. You have ready flags, write your STR, and send it immediately to the Qatar FAU. Why does the institution think the activity is suspicious, first, describe the filers type of institution. Bank commercial is 400 located in 5 jurisdictions. We're talking here about global banks or regional banks have branches abroad or overseas. Send money week in international money transmitter with 5 offices in metropolitan city. We do money in securities broker, etc. Because now the MLRO has duty not only to monitor the branch activity, to monitor private banking, to monitor corporate transaction, to monitor investment in the market, the capital market transaction. Those areas are connected to do money laundering, facilitate money laundering, and sometimes help to do terrorism financing. Why does the institution think the activity or transaction is suspicious? Next, describe precisely but fully why the institution considers the activity as suspicious. Be sure to include any relevant information about suspicious customer activity the institution has its files at the time of the STR is filed. How this suspicious activity occurred? Be concise, accurate, and logical. For account activity, provide a complete as possible explanation cycle of fund, including the source of fund and the account or application of fund. In your STR, you should have introduction, a brief statement of status, generally describe the non-suspected violation, and so on. After the introduction, you have the body of the STR, provide relevant facts about all parties, facilitate activity, or answers who. When you raise a question, what the customer is doing, there's who, why. You cannot answer those questions, you have ground suspicious. What, where, when, and why. Explain details because you have a question about why, you didn't have an answer about it, and you have ground for suspicious. And when you do everything, you file the STR, all connected transaction account conductors and sub-result of the activity, and answer later on how the activity happened. Summarize the report. And we end by this. Remember everyone that we are all share same goals. We want to have results. You are still hearing? Hello?
Hello. Yes, Mr. Bashir. Please go ahead.
Okay. Remember all that we share same goals to have good results. To have good results should make risk assessment, to keep our brand name clean. We have AML and compliance performance to keep our firm sound and clear, be touched and no penalty by anyone. Thank you, everyone. If you have any questions, you can count on Serendipity Training and Consulting. You know the address and everyone. And for my company Compliance Alert, we were joined with Serendipity to do this. And I have included here my WhatsApp number in Doha, same the email of Serendip. You can have access to Serendip website to do what kind of training and activity they are doing. You can have access to our website, compliancealert.org, or to have more info about what you are doing. Compliance Alert, we are doing this.
Mr. Bashir?
Just a minute.
Okay.
We do everything you need to avoid economic 56% of companies lack a well-defined compliance policy, and yes, yes, madam.
Yep. Would you like to take any questions, Mr. Bashir?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Please, if you'd like to, there was one question from, Muzammil. How to recognize the profession of visiting customers?
How to recognize the profession about what?
Of the visiting customer.
Get you.
Now, his question, how to recognize, probably how, I think, how to be sure of the profession declared by the customer.
Okay. Your company is a company or an individual? Talking about retail or what?
No, Muzammil, would you like to clarify your question, please? Muzammil? I think he's not here.
Hello.
The customer.
Hello, sir.
Yes, Muzammil, can you explain your question?
My question
please?
was,
Yes.
no, if a customer is coming here on visit visa, suppose if the customer is visitor.
Okay. So you're working for
Yeah.
an exchange house. Am I right, Muzammil?
The customer
Yes,
is
I'm
one
working
who-
for an exchange house.
Okay.
If the customer is come from abroad, it's on visiting visa.
The
Sure,
customer
Mr. Bashir.
came on visit visa.
Yes.
Doing transaction with you should have a passport.
Yes, right.
Now you ask for his passport. You check the passport, you check the visa, make photocopy of the passport, and keep it for your record as supporting a transaction. So in this area, you did use the initial due diligence. Now, under the passport doesn't show what kind of profession the customer has.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, right.
Now you ask the customer what kind of profession you have. To be frank with you, most of visitor customers who come to Doha or Dubai or elsewhere will not be fully transparent with you because he's visitor, not to check his background, nothing at all. He may tell you anything. But if he did one single transaction within the threshold of Qatar Central Bank and the law number 20, no problem. If he did start doing more than one transaction, open a KYC file for your customer. I'll give you an example. I wasn't a visitor. I have residency in Doha. One day I went to city center to make exchange transaction. And because she requested to have all my information, where I live, he could took copy of my Qatari ID and everything, and so on. Now, a visitor, you ask him about his address, what he's doing, and so on. You take it as it is. We can check background him. The only background you can check, system in your company run the screening about his name. Is he listed by offer, by multinational list? Then you stop doing the transaction. But this is my friend Muzammil. Look at your policy
Thank you, sir.
and procedure. What your policy and procedure says about.
Any other questions?
No, we go back to Muzammil. You are from
Muzammil,
company?
sorry.
You are from an exchange company?
Muzammil,
Yes,
yes.
I'm from exchange company, sir.
Yeah. Most exchange company, when the client comes to your counter, they want to do a transaction and so he's not your customer, he's not a resident.
Yes.
Now you have to ask for the passport. He may tell you I have the
Pa-
passport now, so I cannot do the transaction. Unfortunately, most of exchange companies worldwide will pass a law and policy and procedure because they don't want to lose the customer. Right?
right, sir.
Yes. Then you have a problem. I will be glad to come to you in prison and bring a pajama for you. Still with me?
Yes, I'm with you, but your voice is breaking, sir. Can you please repeat the same line again?
But what I was saying, since you didn't, you bypassed the requirement of identification because he didn't have his passport. He could have other kind of document of identification that you cannot make this is it's too fictitious. But although you do the transaction without proper identification, doing which it means you have did what? You are in a breach of your own policy and procedure and a breach of law. What I'm saying to you, since you were in a breach of the law and your company policy and procedure doing this transaction because you didn't want to lose the customer, I was telling you, joking with you, that I'll be happy to visit you in the jail and bring you the gift pajama. Clear? Any other question?
If you'd like to ask any questions, please unmute your mic and ask the question. We are about to wind up, so if you can ask the question quickly, it'll be helpful.
Yeah, hello. I want to ask one question. I'm
Please
Raghu
go
here.
ahead. Yes, Raghu.
Yeah, there was one slide where it was mentioning that corporations A owned by B and C, and then owned by different people, different companies. So the basically, I want to know that A company is owned by. If you can show that slide, yeah.
This one. This one?
Yeah, yeah. Now here corporation A is owned by B and C, and then B is owned by B1, B2, all this. So now who's the ultimate beneficial owner in this then?
Correct. This is your exercise. Because this is your exercise. Now, look at the corporation.
Yeah.
B2 owns 100, right?
Yeah.
Of shared 100% of company B2, while company B2 owns 20% of corporation B. While B1 owns 80% of corporation B with two parties, 75% and 25%.
Yeah.
Under corporation C, the corporation C owns 40% of corporation C, and corporation C2, the two partners, is 49% and 51%. Now, C1 and C2 altogether forms corporation C, who owns 20% of corporation A. Now, who is really beneficial of corporation A? I'll tell you something. 60% out of 20% of corporation, it means what? make the calculation.
12%.
Okay. 40% of 20% is how much?
8%.
8%. Now, on the corporation B, B1 owns 8%, right? But those 80% by 2. Now, this 80% of 80% is how much?
64%.
64%. And 20% of B2 of 80% is how much?
16%.
So we have 64%, and we have here the 40% has how much under C1?
Yeah, it's 100% of that individual is owning 40%.
Yeah, but this has 100% of 40%. 40% corporation.
Yeah, 40%. 40%. Yeah.
So 40% of 20 is how much?
8%.
So we have 8% and we have 64%, right?
Yeah.
So now we have 8 and 64. We have 72%, correct?
Yeah.
If we take B2, who owns 80% of corporation B, and C2, who owns percent of corporation C, the addition between B2 and C2 is still below what?
64%.
Yes, it's 64. The owner are listed in black intentionally. It's B1 and C1.
Yeah.
Together are the beneficial owner of corporation A.
Okay. Yeah. Because 64 and 40 years. Yeah.
Yeah, 64 and 8.
64 and 8.
80 and 8. Percentage of B1 and C1 doesn't count. It counts the percentage of C and percentage of B as shareholders. So the three entities with their percentage are the real beneficial owner of corporation A.
So B1 and C1 are the ultimate beneficial owners.
Here one, the B1 and C1 are the ultimate beneficial owners. This is what I'm telling you.
Okay, okay. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Another question?
Yes. Hello, Mr. Bashir.
Hello.
Mr. Bashir, actually, it comes to my mind a question concerning the UBO when we are talking about beneficial owner. So when we are identifying the ultimate beneficial owners, and we already take the business and we start a business relationship, what if later on we identify one of the non-beneficial owner is a sanctioned party? Or at the beginning, is it a concern for us? Because when we are identifying the ultimate beneficial owner who are owning 25% of the company, so we will get all their ID or passport and screen them against sanction list. What if any of the non-beneficial owners partners is sanctioned? If this will affect or damage the business relationship or no?
Good question. My question to you, Mohammed, is the following. Are you willing to take the chance to open an account for a company with an entity, a partner in this company, regardless of his percentage, falls under sanction? Will you open the account or not? Why I'm asking this question? Because once he's a partner and he's sanctioned entity, his other partners could be listed as associated partners. Muhammad, still with
Yes,
me?
yes, yes, Mr. Bashir, I'm with you. Personally, and as a short answer, my answer is no. I will not take the business, even
Yes,
if the percentage is less than 25%.
yes, even less than 25%. Once he's sanctioned, that's why I said when your colleague asked me about the enhanced due diligence to do it after 3 years, I said at the onboarding level, the guy was not sanctioned. Later on, he could be sanctioned. That's what the screening should be done more often to see how many of your existing customers fall under sanction and what steps to be taken later on. Okay. Now, this guy who is happened to be sanctioned and doesn't own 25% as beneficial owner, but he's still a partner in this company. So this is a risky business, doing a business with someone, a partner subject to sanction. Because the correspondent tell you what, he will not take this slide as the ultimate slide. He will tell you, you are harboring in your bank, in your account, a sanctioned entity, then you fail to do your proper due diligence. And you open an account, then you will face help from the correspondent bank. Face help from whom? From Qatar Central Bank when they make a visit on you to see that there's a gap in your monitoring. Now I understand that many banks, senior management, when you forward worries to them, sometimes they do not take it seriously. But my friend, our headache as MLRO, my advice to everyone, do your own job, do abide by your policy procedure, by the spirit of the law, file your report. Senior management doesn't listen to your advice, this is their problem. Because when the regulator will visit you, will see that Muhammad, Muzammil, and everyone has did the job requested by him, then you are the upper level. If they fail to do the proper job, this is their headache, their problem, and that's it.
Um, a second question, Mr. Bashir, if you don't mind. Uh, we are always facing a scenario of, let's say, a clash or a debate with the business parties while we are asking more details about the beneficial owners and to ask them to dig more and get more details or about that. And they always complaining, we are suffering, you are delaying business.
Muhammad, my friend, I always tell everyone, the resistance always from within. Resistance always from within. Hey, January 2006, visiting Saudi Arabia, Riyadh, the Farsi Bank. While visiting a colleague of mine, a private banker came to the compliance department and shouting, how come your people at the branch level refused me to do this kind of transaction? The transaction was about what exactly? This private banker bought from a customer of the bank shares in one company in Europe. And the branch refused to execute that because there's conflict of interest and the private banker is not allowed to do it. I was in the compliance, and this guy, Saudi guy, came and was shouting and furious, and he has his high-ranking officer, while the people at compliance at lower level. So I told my Saudi colleague, look, you have code of conduct? Yes. Give me the code of conduct. Believe me, Muhammad, what I did, I only was visiting, last time visiting the Saudi Faransi. I took the code of conduct, and it was to my luck. I opened the code of conduct, this, read something. I told the private banker, look, under Saudi Forensic Code of Conduct, you are not allowed to do it because this conflict of business, code of ethics and conduct, you're not allowed to do it. Shouting here, why he is not allowed to do it? This conflict, why? Because as a private bank, he knew inside information about market or the price manipulation. So he pushed his customer to pay for it. So the client can do it with another bank. If you maintain an account in another bank, nobody will talk to you. You have inside information, then you have abused the policy and procedure, code of ethics and code of conduct. In your own firm, you have code of business and code of conduct. This is your Bible. This is the Quran, my friend. Keep it at your desk. One line of business.
Yes, clear, Mr. Bashir.
One line of business argue with you. Take your code of ethics and code of conduct and tell them this under this, you are obligated. The law says this and this and this. You object, give me, file a letter, file a claim, and we'll be ready to answer senior management. One day, Muhammad, in Lebanon, one of my staff screening a transaction for a deputy GM. Now, this staff member spoke with the branch, inquiring about this transaction of this deputy GM. The amount was $100,000 cash deposit. And my colleague, my staff member, he said, I want to inquire about source of fund of cash deposit. So the branch manager spoke with deputy GM. He told him, one of Mr. Nakib's assistant inquiring about your cash deposit. So this guy, deputy GM, called me by mobile, and he told me, look, Bashir, one staff member in your department is a donkey. He's an ass. What? How in hell is he there to ask the branch level about my transaction? So he's doing his job. This is his own job. This is a policy and procedure. He said, I am the deputy GM. I told the guy, look, if you are branding my staff member a donkey or an ass, it means I am a donkey. So my advice to you, to go to the chairman and file a complaint. And I'm sure that the chairman will tell you, abide by Mr. Naki policy and procedure because he knows better. Everyone is subject to declare source of fund, regardless of him. One day, Muhammad, my chairman came to my office and look, everyone is complaining about you. You are asking a lot of questions. I told him, George, you at the bank level, you motivate all members to bring business. So every one of the staff member and branch managers think himself as a chairman. Nobody can touch him. In the control function of money laundering. To do my business, I care less about your opinion. You like it or not, this is my attitude. I cannot accept any branch manager to resist my monitoring. Anyway, maybe I'm harsh doing my job, but because of this, I was lucky to come to Doha and be part of QFCRA supervision team and working later on for international banks. Believe what you are doing, Muhammad, every one of you. Don't be afraid of anyone. You have your own policy and procedure. You have code of business, code of ethics, code of conduct. Nobody can touch you.
Yes, sure. I think Mr. Bashir The main challenge is to which extent you are able to promote your compliance culture in the institution where you are working for. Otherwise, I think a failure will appear for an MLRO, of course. Yeah.
Tell you what, Mohammed. Year 2002, in Lebanon, law number 318 for money laundering prevention was enacted. Year 2002, the guy from central bank from the was visiting the bank to meet the at those times the bank didn't have a compliance officer. I was writing for the bank the policies and procedures for all the branches and credit department and audit department and so on. So one of the chairman advisors advised him appoint Mr. Nakib as the compliance officer of the bank. It was in March 2002. A memo was issued backdated January 2002, appointing me as compliance officer. They sent the memo to me and CC everyone, and next day was invited to attend a meeting at chairman's office. The head of audit. I went upstairs, and there was this guy from Central Bank, the head of compliance of Lebanon FIU. Maybe you know the name, Tariq, right?
Yes, right, Mr. Bashir.
Yeah. So Tariq asked the chairman, do you have AML manual? The chairman looked at the head of audit, and the head of audit kept silent. Since I was writing policies and procedures of the bank, I answered Tariq, yes, we have guide for AML. So Tariq looked at the chairman's face and the head of audit. Everyone kept silent. Said, okay, I will send my team in 5 days, and I hope it will be ready. I told him, look, don't hope, I can give you a copy now. He said, no need. And he went out. So the chairman spoke with me, told me, أخو الشرموطة نحن ما عندنا manual. Sorry, I told George, you play poker? He said, yes. Since you play poker, we can create a manual in 5 days. I created a manual in 5 days. The chairman signed a memo. Following day, people of Lebanon FIU came to visit us and asked us for the manual, fight money laundering. And I told the head of audit, please give them your copy. So now, year 2002, the bank was saved. Still hearing me?
Some noise, Mr. Bashir. Sorry.
Yeah. What I was saying, I wrote the manual. Lebanon FIU officer came to the bank and gave him copy of the manual, and the outcome was good. Year 2003, another team from Lebanon FIU came to visit us to do supervision. Of course, during this time, we did nothing to monitor client transaction because we didn't have a system, and everyone in the bank was not cooperating with me. The head of IT not cooperating, business branches not operating, head of audit not cooperating, no one was cooperating with me. So after a couple of days, a letter came from the governor of central bank to the chairman, stating red flags in our bank policy and implementation and execution. It showed about 17 red flags with one single blue flag or green flag. It said that it appears to us that Mr. Nakib has the awareness and culture to fight money laundering. And because of this, I was appointed officially by the bank to start building my compliance team and to do the monitoring of all transactions with correspondent banking, private banking, business, everything in this area, including capital market. All days I was facing hell 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006, and so on, because none of them was cooperating with me. Everyone was pushing hard not to provide information. My advice to everyone as MLRO, you should know how to swim underwater for long hours. If you have short breath and you cannot swim for long hours, you will fail to do your job. Rock and roll.
Good advice, Mr. Bashir. Thank you very much.
Welcome, Muhammad. Welcome.
Mr. Bashir, another few hours will become a fully fledged training. Very good. So shall we wrap up, Mr. Bashir?
Yeah.
Okay. Brilliant.
So, short, yes, go ahead.
No, go ahead. After you.
Oh, you are older than me. Go ahead.
I'll wait. No, once you finish your closing, then I can close the session. Mr. Bashir, would you like to say anything else, or we can close?
Besides, you are qualified. No, one moment. The basis for our business is good due diligence, good enhanced due diligence, good screening, good staff, good screening of onboarding customer, existing customer, do risk-based approach, review our policies and procedure, write out our report or quarterly report, our worries, how to enhance business, how to promote business, how to comply with central bank requirement in order not to be in breach or subject to enforcement. This is my advice to everyone. Thank you everyone for attending. Yes, Malaban, the floor is yours.
Thank you everyone. Really appreciate that people were asking questions. There are more webinars that we have planned, more webinars and more fully fledged courses. Be in touch with us. I'll be sending an email to everyone that, providing the link to the recording.
Let me ask something, Malaban. If any if any one of you who is attending, if you like to have a full day webinar, 2 days webinar, whatever so on, you can count on Serendi to communicate with him, and I will be ready to deliver whatever you are for.
Thank you, Mr. Bashir. You made it easier for me. Okay, so we'll be in touch with everybody. Please, we are very sorry about the audio dropping every now and then. There's nothing that we could do about it. So let's hope in the future it's very good. Sure. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.